Oh, wait,
Yes, thanks.
I guess we're not live. Okay.
Uh,
You about to say something,
just
Alan?
not on YouTube yet.
Okay. Let me know when you're ready. Okay, are we ready now? It says live stream now. Are we set?
Give it 2 seconds. All right, you should be good now.
Good, thank you. Good evening and Happy New Year. I'd like to call this meeting of the Land Use and Building Management Committee of the Common Council to order on Wednesday, January 4th, 2023 at 7:02 p.m. With us tonight, we have Mr. Hooverman, Ms. Smith, Mr. Burnett, Mr. Meek, and Ms. Alterman. So we do have a quorum. First, next item of business is public participation. Do we have anybody signed up to speak? Mike, anyone?
That's you.
There is one attendee in the waiting room, Brennan White.
That's part of the design team.
Yeah, okay, but
Oh.
nobody for public participation then.
Nope, that was the only person.
Okay, then I will close public participation and move to approval of the minutes of the meeting of December 7th, 2022. Do I have a motion?
So
Hooverman, thank you. Are there any corrections, additions, changes to the minutes? Seeing none, I'll call for vote. All in favor, indicate by raising hand. Mr. Meek, opposed?
I'm abstaining.
Okay, all in favor except for Mr. Meek who abstains. Okay, thank you. Moving on to new business. First item is to review the request to provide project contingency for additional scope with Energy Resources USA for lighting retrofit project. Refer the following to the Common Council for action. I'm going to read both items. A1 and 2, authorize Office of Building Management to execute change order on contract with Energy Resources USA to provide LED lighting retrofit services at the Norwalk Public Works Center for a total not to exceed $3,907.41, account noted. And 2, authorize the Office of Building Management to execute change order on contract with Energy Resources USA to provide LED lighting retrofit services at the Norwalk Fire Headquarters for a total not to exceed $4,658.03, account noted. Do I have a motion, please? Mr. Burnett, thank you. Alan?
Yeah, it's a pretty straightforward item. This is previously approved by the Common Council. We never approve any contingency. So once we sign the contract, we have the project team, basically a turnkey operation. They come and look at our existing. We gave them some preliminary information about the building and stuff, and they gave us a proposal. So after we sign the contract, they go and look at it. It turned out that we had additional lights that we didn't count it in, as well as I believe it's the fire headquarters. There's some of the light fixture has a emergency power backup into it. So we need to provide that as part of new fixtures. So there's some changes. Again, we never approve any contingency. So that's why we have to come back. It's pretty straightforward. It's 3,000, 2 items. Each one is $3,000-$4,000.
Okay, thank you. Any questions or discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for vote. All in favor? 2, 3, 4, 5. Mr. Meek, you? Okay, it's unanimous. Thank you. Okay, moving item B, review request to increase design contingency with Salamone Associates for underground oil tank removal project, and refer the following to the Common Council for action. Authorize to increase the contingency allowance for Salamone Associates PC for underground oil tank removal project in various school locations to provide additional environmental design services and environmental testing monitoring services for contaminated materials for an additional amount of $55,000. Account noted. Give a motion. Ms. Smith, thank you. Alan? Oh, no, it's Bill. This is you.
Yes, this is me. Good evening, all, and thank you. So I know I've talked about this project quite some time. Just a quick review. We had 8 underground oil storage tanks removed over the summer. And the initial plan was to have a series of them removed and replaced with above ground oil storage tanks. And we had an agreement with Salamone Associates to do so. While they were planning that and spent time and money, we were able to work with Eversource to find 3 of the sites to receive natural gas. So it was a reshift in design to address those areas. The money and time was spent for above ground tanks, and they had to spend time to design for gas igniters instead. In addition to that, out of all of the 8 tanks, we did in fact find some contaminated soils in one location. Now, I may have reported to you in the past where none of the sites had contaminated soils. When test results came back at Narragansett and Narragansett only, they found that there was some spillage back in 1989 when the tank that we just removed was being installed. That was never addressed back then, so we are addressing it now. Thus, Salamone needs to add some more costs to their design and planning for the remediation aspect at Narragansett. So what we are looking for is $55,000 increase, and we have the funds available in that existing account.
So Bill, that's the cleanup money? Is that what it is for?
Yes.
So let me ask you this, for the overall project, when we first went at it, as you noted, we were going to replace all the tanks, right? We're going to, well, I think it was maybe all of them or most of them with above ground tanks. We don't have to do that for some of them now. So does that mean overall the project's less money?
Yes, overall, the project was less money in that sense. But now that we have contaminated soils, it's going to raise it, but we still have the funding within the account. It just wasn't anticipated.
Any idea how much excess there is?
I don't have that figures with me.
Okay.
No.
All right. Thank you. Any questions? Okay, I'll call for vote. All in favor? 1, 2, 3. Okay, it's unanimous. Thank you. All right, moving on. Review bid recommendation for Silver Mine School parking and bus parent drop-off improvements and refer item 2 to the Common Council for action. It's okay. 1 is the approved recommendation to begin the special capital appropriation process for Silver Mine Elementary School parking and parent bus drop-off improvements in the amount of $425,000. Alan, wait, before I go on, so we're going to approve tonight. We're being
Yeah, sorry, Tom, let me interrupt you. There's 2 items on the agenda. The reason being, the first item, you have to approve it. You don't have to approve it, but it's really for your information, the land use committee's information purposes. So that you understand the project the bids came in, and because the special appropriation project does not require the land use and building management committee to act on it. So really just a referral to you that, by the way, this project went out to bid, and for your understanding of where we are, and then your recommendation that it's to proceed with a special appropriation process. It's not a requirement of the city charter. It's just information for the committee, so that you recognize that there's a need for additional money.
okay. So we should approve of 1 and 2A today.
Right, you approve 1 and 2.
Okay, so let's do 2A, authorize the Mayor Harry W. Rilling to execute an agreement with B&W Paving and Landscaping LLC for the Silver Mine Elementary School driveway improvement projects for a total not to exceed $1,744,000 pending approval of special capital appropriation. Account noted. And B, authorize the MPS Facilities Department to issue change orders on this contract for a total not to exceed $174,500 pending approval of a special capital appropriation. Account noted. Do I have a motion, please? Anyone? Thank you, Ms. Alderman.
It's Bill's
Okay,
item.
Bill, is this you?
Yes. So this project goes back a little ways, and $1.5 million was approved by Common Council back in, I think it was 2020. And there was a few delays in design, there were a few delays, COVID related. Um, but the much needed project was, we're hoping to do it this coming summer. So we put it out to bid, and the funding of 1.5 million, which was a couple of years ago, we received 2 bids back. The lowest was 1.744. So we're trying to make up that shortfall. We know how important this project is. So it was recommended for a special appropriation. What we did do is we took a look at the NPS capital account, the overall accounts that they have allocated. And we were able to find this money within the NPS capital budget. Approximately half of this ask is in paving. So we plan to make a request to shift that over in addition to some other funding to make up for the shortfall. Because this project has gained a lot of momentum with the mayor, the superintendent, and the entire Silvermine community. We feel that we have the time, we can allocate the money within the capital budget, and we'd like to move forward with the capital appropriation process.
So Bill, where is the money coming from? Because I know I had asked you before about the status of the, say, the Brian McMahon High School parking lot. Is that something that is still going to be in the process, or where's the
Well,
money?
the Brian McMahon parking lot, that is a request we're making in the upcoming budget process.
Okay,
That's
so
in hopes to do that this coming summer. That money has not been appropriated just yet.
gotcha. So this is not coming from that, it's coming from other places.
No.
Mr. Burnett.
Yes, thank you, Chairman Livingston. I'm on that same thought. Mr. Hodel, could you share with us, when you say you found $425,000 from other account, where did you find it from?
So the capital monies that have been appropriated to the Board of Ed over the years, in some cases, there is money that wasn't used in full. For example, about half of this ask is with the paving. We have about $200,000 in paving that is still sitting there. We could still use it for a school, but instead we want to appropriate that to this project. In addition to that, we have some other funding that was within the capital projects program that, in fact, when we shared this with Henry Dakowitz, he was happy that we were able to relocate within the existing funding as opposed to going outside. So where do we find this money? Again, within the capital appropriation over a number of years that's sitting there.
If I could just have a follow-up to that, I'm $425,000 is not a small amount of money. It just poses the question as to how much more is sitting out there not used, but at some point allocated to be used. Do we have a handle on what that total amount is?
I believe what is available is about 475,000, of which we are asking for 425 of that.
Okay, just the final comment is it would be at least helpful for me to see the detail as to what projects these dollars are coming from. If that can be provided, that would be appreciated.
Yes, and I believe that would
I'm
be,
sorry, let me interrupt. I think that information will be available when we go for the special appropriation process, when we go in BET and plan and zoning, and then we go to finance committee. So the recommendation coming from the finance department will include the information that Bill is providing the committee on, and the detail that will be available to the finance committee. Again, land use, really, it's the project's coming to us, and we want a general idea. Greg, remember the time that recently when the fire department requested a special appropriation went to the finance department, and you were asking like, how come, what happened? What? So I think this would be the normal process. that they would have come to here, did we talk about it, the project's over budget, and if we need additional money, and then generally speaking, the committee would support, whether we support it or not support it, and then we start the special appropriation process. So the financial aspect of this request will be coming to you under as part of the special appropriation.
And the detail that I was indicating will be part of that discussion.
Yes.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Smith?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I'm just curious what the delay was. These funds were approved more than a couple of years ago, and this is a very important project. There's significant safety issues at that school. What was the delay in getting this started?
There was definitely, in the beginning, there was a COVID delay. The state health department had to come down because they had to do a personal inspection. The fact that there's a septic system on the site, and that involved drainage, DEP and traffic had to spend extra time in allocating their time to review the plans, which was finally submitted to me last summer. So while we had hoped they'd be completed by now, those delays, we had no other choice.
Okay, and I understand that. You commented earlier that you hope to get this project started this summer. Do you anticipate there could be further delays?
No further delays other than the additional approval process that's required for the special appropriation.
Understood. Okay, thanks, Bill.
Let me, I'm sorry. I know this is not my project. Just trying to provide some input. As we go, the second item, second portion of this item is about approving the contractor. So what we were asking for is that the committee understand where we are with this project, the need for special appropriation. At the same time, we're requesting committee approval subject to the special appropriation, so that after this meeting, we will start the special appropriation process. By the time you go to finance committee, assume the finance committee recommends it, when you go to common council, I will put the same item on as approving the contractor so that we doesn't have to come back again. So that's to save time. One of the reasons that by the time we get approval of special appropriation in February, we still execute a contract, and thereafter we got all the two things that would take time consuming. One is site lighting. Will probably take between 12 to 14 weeks to 16 weeks for delivery, and then the other, the storm water retention system probably takes about 6 to 8 weeks for delivery. So I think the way we work the schedule out is probably by the time the school ends, the retention system, the domes that required would be available for construction. And then the lighting should be coming in the summer. If not, it would be September. So we're cutting close as we stand now because delivering time.
So Alan, are you going to pose that this item as written be on the council agenda next Tuesday, or are we going to wait till
No,
after?
it will not be in next week. It will be.
We're going to wait till after we get the.
Right.
Okay.
At the same agenda. So you see both, you see the special appropriation and approval of the contract at the same time.
Gotcha. Mr. Meek.
Thanks. The spec here only indicates that it's the driveway loop. Are we gonna do the parking lot too? The parking lot that's north of there for faculty, or?
Yes, so you're gonna, the way you enter the site right now will be widened. And the front of the building will have some parking up against Perry Avenue. But most importantly, there'll be a bus lane that doesn't really exist right now. It's kind of mixed with parent cars. While down below, that entire parking lot will be torn up and replaced, and the retention system that Adam mentioned would be installed under that. So yes, everything, every bit of asphalt that you see there will be replaced, as well as curbing.
Okay, excellent. That's what I want to know. And then in this regard, does this put to bed any of those old pipe dreams that somebody was going to build a new school building there on top of the old lot on the north side?
I'm sorry, I don't have that history, but I can tell you this
that was
a,
kicked around for a while. I never saw the feasibility of it, but I there's nothing else going on there where we're putting in a parking lot and then gonna scrap it in a few years.
Oh, not to my knowledge. The only
Okay,
other item, as I mentioned, under the soccer field is the leaching field for the septic system. And,
Yeah.
it just becomes a factor because it's in close
well,
proximity.
you got the river behind it
And the
too,
river.
so
Yes.
I'm all set, thanks.
Okay, any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, passed unanimously. Thank you. All right, next item has to do with furniture, fixture and
Oh, no,
equipment.
I'm sorry, Tom, do we have to go to item B? We didn't,
No, I read them both. I read them all.
oh, you read both? Okay,
Yeah.
okay, very good.
Yeah,
That's right, you did. I'm sorry, my fault.
okay. Furniture, fixture and equipment for Cranberry. I'm really gonna read all this. Yeah, okay. Let's go to it. I'm gonna move all these items together. 1A, just might as well sit down. Authorize the purchasing agent to issue a purchase order to Insalco Corporation for various furniture items for the Cranberry Elementary School new project for a total sum of $168,147.57. Account noted. B, authorize the purchasing agent to issue change orders and purchase order for a total not to exceed $8,400. 2A, authorize the purchasing agent to issue a purchase order to Lakeshore Learning Materials LLC for various furniture items for the Cranberry Elementary School new project for a total sum of $51,389.61. Account noted. B, authorize the purchasing agent to issue change orders on purchase order for a total not to exceed $5,000. 3A, authorize the purchasing agent to issue a purchase order to Robert H. Lord Co. for the various furniture items from the Cranberry Elementary School new project for a total sum of $772. But account noted. B, authorize the purchasing agent to issue change orders and purchase order for a total not to exceed $500. 4A, authorize the purchasing agent to issue a purchase order to Red Thread Spaces LLC for various furniture items for the Cranberry Elementary School new project for a total sum of $218,884. Account noted. B, authorize the purchasing agent to issue change orders on purchase order for a total not to exceed $11,000. 5A, authorize the purchasing agent to issue a purchase order to WB Mason Co. Inc. for various furniture items from the Cranberry Elementary School new project for a total sum of $346,141. Account noted. B, authorize the purchasing agent to issue change orders on purchase order for a total not to exceed $40,000. 6A, authorize the purchasing agent to issue a purchase order to CT Communications State Contract noted for the telephone system for the Cranberry Elementary School new project for a total sum of $28,694. Account noted. B, authorize the purchasing agent to issue change orders on purchase order for a total not to exceed $2,000. 7A, authorize the purchasing agent to issue a purchase order to Raptor Technologies LLC for the visitor management system for the Cranberry Elementary School new project for a total sum $1,923.50. Account noted. B, authorize the purchasing agent to issue change orders and purchase order for a total not to exceed $500. 8A, authorize the purchasing agent to issue a purchase order to Total Communications State Contract noted for computer networking electronics for the Cranberry Elementary School new project for a total sum of $162,877.38. Account noted. B, authorize the purchasing agent to issue change orders on purchase order for a total not to exceed $10,000. 9A, authorize the purchasing agent to issue a purchase order to Environmental Systems Corporation, state contract noted for digital displays for the Cranberry Elementary School new project for a total sum of $7,311.70. Account noted. B, authorize the purchasing agent to issue change orders on purchase order for a total not to exceed $1,000. 10A, authorize the purchasing agent to issue a purchase order to Environmental Systems Corporation for computer charging stations for the Cranberry Elementary School new project for a total sum of $15,328. Account noted. B, authorize the purchasing agent to issue change orders on purchase order for a total not to exceed $1,000. Do I have a motion? Ms. Alterman, thank you. Okay, who's going to talk about furniture, fixtures, and equipment?
Mike is, just before he starts, I just
You want me to
want
do it over?
Yeah, Mike Francis is going to talk about it. But just before, typically for items that are less than $25,000, does not require common council action. The reason we put all of these together so that it's a comprehensive, all the furniture that we're buying, that you see all of them. But Tom, if the committee chooses, I can just take the item off, so you don't have to read that much of it during the council.
Oh,
meeting.
now you do this, Alan?
But it's nice to see all of it together, so you know.
No,
this-
I actually, I agree with you. I like the committee to see it all. I think it's a better practice.
Right,
it's
way more comprehensive, but if you don't feel like, I mean, if you don't, whoever's gonna read that to next week, I mean.
I
we
don't
can just
think-
leave out-
Yeah, I don't know how the committee feels. I like the idea of everybody knowing what's out there and what we're doing as a whole.
Okay,
It's not
that's
that much
fine.
more to read. Let them read
Thank
it.
you.
Yep.
Mike, please.
Yep, so the furniture and technology package is pretty standard for basically all the schools that we've completed to date. Once the construction of the new Cranberry Elementary School is completed, it'll be completely outfitted with new furniture, network electronics, new phones, new digital displays. You know, throughout this process, we've met with quite a few folks from the school, including the administration, staff members, the IT department for the Board of Education, the security department for the Board of Education, to ensure that everything that we would be purchasing is in line with what they'll be, with how they'll be using the equipment. So, you know, we went as far as to bring in color samples and, you know, cut sheets for every piece of furniture that was being implemented into the program, into the new school, to ensure that what we were going to be purchasing would be would fit their needs and work adequately for the teaching program at the school. That was over the course of a couple months. The plans were then brought to the state of Connecticut for approval and allowed to go out to bid. We first put this project out to bid in November publicly. We then rebid it because we weren't satisfied with the amount of response that we received on the first bid. And when we bid it the second time, we did get quite a few more quotes on the furniture. All of the state contract items were solicited to multiple vendors, and for almost all of them, we received 2 quotes for comparison. You know, in some cases, we only did receive 1 that was on the digital displays and the charging stations, but you know, recommendations have been made by the full design team to the city through me, and as a result, the package that's in front of you is the result of all of the recommendations and the bid analysis that was completed.
So how does the total compare to what we budgeted?
It's approximately $200,000 less than what we budgeted.
Oh, good answer. Any questions? Any discussion? Mr. Meek?
Yeah, I mean, my question kind of goes back to history I might have missed, but didn't you do all this similar work for Jefferson? And then y'all decided to use the same old crappy furniture? Is there any risk for this and that?
At Jefferson, we actually replaced the majority of the furniture in the building.
Maybe I have that wrong. I thought there was one of the projects where we ended up scrapping some of the furniture requests.
It probably was Ponus a few years ago.
Okay, so
yeah,
is there
we
any
bought new
risk
furniture
here
for the
for
new-
that,
new-
or you guys all feel good about this? Everyone's lined up?
I feel very confident the stuff that we're proposing to you will 100% get used. The principal's
Yeah.
been
I
very,
think,
very,
I think
very
the bonus
engaged.
situation that Alan was referencing was the furniture company provided the wrong type of chair. And so they replaced the incorrect chairs with new chairs, but didn't want the ones that they provided incorrectly back. So there was some additional chairs.
So Jefferson or
Bonus, it was
Ponus, right?
bonus, yeah.
And Ponus, there's a long discussion about we provide furniture for a lower school that was new. The existing school, we decided we were trying to debate what furniture needed and what we weren't going to replace. So there was discussion about additional furniture replaced on the existing school.
Correct.
Okay, so last question, and first let me preface it. I'm all for the new furniture and everything else, but just doing a little due diligence, going down your schedule, the only thing I could kind of glean on it. $90 per flag per room, does that include installation, or I'm just trying to reconcile that with the $30 flags I buy over at Home Depot for my house.
I'll have to take a look at that.
I mean,
It would,
you
it
know,
would-
I
it would
know
include-
maybe it's something WB Mason doesn't specialize in or something. I couldn't pick heads or tails out of any other thing on here. I don't know if the price is right. That was just, again, just doing due diligence. I want all this stuff. It just seems like a lot of money for a flag. And puts into question is everything else like a good price too on that list.
which line item is that, Brian?
Under WB Mason, but if you go into the packet and you kind of turn your head sideways on the two schedules, you can see towards the bottom of, sorry, I should have had it marked up.
Okay, I see it now. $90
You can
per
see
flag.
33 flags at $90 a piece. So
Yeah.
I'm hoping that includes the hardware and the installation, but I
Yes,
don't know.
Yes, it would.
Okay.
It would, and occasionally, sometimes what happens with these packages is that, WB Mason is supplying quite a bit of furniture for the package. So in order to remain competitive with some of the other items, they may have dropped the cost of some of the other items and reallocated some of the cost towards the flags.
Okay, but I mean, they're gonna screw the
that's-
hardware into the wall, and put the
Yes,
flag in,
yes.
and
Yes,
okay, that's fine. You answered my
And that-
question perfectly.
and again, whether or not they allocated some of the cost from some of the other items, would be purely speculation. But WB Mason did actually supply the flags for the Jefferson School, and they were all installed.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Mr. Burnett?
Yes, thank you. My question is basically, is there any FF&E currently being used in the current Cranberry School that will be utilized in the new Cranberry School? And if not, is there an opportunity to maybe redistribute the FF&E that's currently in the Cranberry School to other existing schools? I'm sure it's equipment that's not in bad shape. It's functional. What are we going to do with it? Are we going to just scrap it, or what happens to that
So-
equipment?
So we did do an analysis of the furniture that was in the existing Cranberry School when we were preparing the new package. And while some of it still may have some useful life, given the equipment that we will be providing for the new Cranberry School, the package was moved forward. We are working with the Board of Education as far as redistributing any furniture that may be utilized in other buildings. We've already started that process, and anything that's deemed to not be useful in another location will be disposed of after the disposition process is completed.
When we say disposed of, do we mean actually thrown away and not offered to nonprofits or other
Well, that-
organizations?
Let me respond to Greg. The process actually is not handled by Mike or I or Jim. It's actually a Board of Education's process. So the first thing the Board of Ed need to do is go through the school, identify anything that they think is valuable, and they need to go around the school system to figure who may want those pieces of furniture or equipment. After that, they have to look at what's remaining to assess the value. Everything has a little bit of value, right? But at some point is that who's buying secondhand or third-hand school furniture? It's very seldom there's a market for the secondhand furniture, whether some of them could be 30-year-old, 40-year-old, some could be 10 years, some could be 5 years old. So somehow people look at it, it's not a simple thing. At some point, the boiler decided that, you know what, there's no interest on certain things or resale value, then they can offer it to nonprofit in the community. The problem we have, I'm not saying they're not going to do that, but the problem we have is that as soon as, let me jump around a little bit. I'm requesting the construction manager, which is Newfield Construction, to advise us by middle to end of April to confirm that we will finish this new school by the end of summer. With that understanding by April, then we know that we are going to start, as soon as school is over in the springtime, we are going to, within the week after all the kids leave, we are going to start doing abatement in the existing building. So the problem we have is that for any nonprofit that wants anything from that building, they have about 1 week to take it away of what they think they need. So it's a narrow time frame. So it's not a simple thing to do in terms of coordinating the stuff. So I'm not saying we're not doing it. I think that we will offer it. I think the boiler will offer it, but it's just coordinating it and get it done within a week's time. It's very challenging. So I just want you to prepare about that because there are a lot of stuff is going to throw away. I don't know where, because we keep stuff in what you call it in the Bricks High School. And a lot of stuff is still there. It's going to be there for the next 10, 15 years. So at some point, it's not worth paying money to move some of this stuff once and store it for 15 years and then throw it away again and hire a mover to move it and then put it in the dumpster at that point. So we need to be sensitive about what we say, what the value is, and be very professional in terms of evaluating the real value to the taxpayer and all. I mean, this is something that's 15 years old. If nobody wants it now, we're not going to try to store it because now 10 years from now, it's 25 years old and in debt storage, and we will pay money to movers to move it twice, you know? So we really value all that. We'll help Board of Ed to look at this stuff, but ultimately it's a Board of Ed's process. That's it.
Ms. Alterman.
Thank you. And sorry if I stop talking, I'm having weird coughing fits. I just had I had 2 questions and 1 comment. One was the furniture at the school is pretty dated. I used to, be there frequently to volunteer. It's completely functional and safe, but it's pretty dated. So I think any concern that it's like wasting or not repurposing is probably just not true of that specific school, but that's not my specialty. I had a question. The building seems like it's going up so quickly. Is that normal? What are you having to do to get them to be so expeditious? And does that reduce cost or everything's the same? I am really impressed with it.
Well, it's really come down is because of Greg Burnett. At my 40th and working anniversary, he made a comment about on time, on budget. So it's a challenge, but no, I mean, seriously, it is very efficient in terms of managing these projects, in terms of all the trades. I mean, we hear all this horror story about contracting low bidders and doing construction work. That's still all true. It's really a relationship and chemistry thing. Which there are projects that potentially are problems, right? So, but at the same time, at this project and Newfield has done, finished Ponus and went to they did Ponus, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, they did Ponus and Jefferson. But at the same time, it's not the same trade contractor. We go out to bid for a trade contractor, but because of those relationships, I think sometimes the trade contractor are more interested in doing project with a certain general contract, construction manager, because there is a good relationship, understanding how things work and doesn't work together. So I'm pleased too, because we give it about 14 months or 16 months for construction. At this point, we're still meeting those dates. There's a couple items that we're concerned about, but we're tracking very, very closely. One is the transformer that's coming from Eversource. We ordered a long time ago, but the delivery date is March 14, I think, something like that. So it is a sensitive item that we need to track on. But that's why I gave a Newfield Construction request that by middle to later April, that they need to confirm with us that we are ready to move by end of semester. If not, then we can start demolishing the existing building. So there is a game plan behind this in terms of what and when what we can and cannot do. So I mean, if something really drastic happened in the next few months and the potential we can't move in September, then the existing building will still be open. But at the same time, we know by middle to end of April. You're muted.
Heidi, you muted?
Sorry. The last question was, I think it was Mr. Meek, or maybe it was Mr. Burnett, who said, like, are they repurposing anything from inside the building? At least a year ago, when I was in some of the meetings with everyone here, we had definitely spoken about the school would be really interested in doing that. Is that still a plan, to be able to have some elements like incorporated to pay homage or whatever to the old school?
I think that the school community should work with the principal and so the principal can get to us in terms of certain things that you guys want to keep for momentum stuff. Yeah, generally speaking, I ran into this. I mean, I know sometimes, like, I know when we moved the police station, fire station, we got brand new furniture and people bringing old chairs that's like 25 years old, you know? So those
Oh,
are things
no.
that,
I thought they had spoken about making like mosaics out of,
Oh, okay.
like making art out of it, but maybe that's not, I can speak to the principal, maybe
Yeah,
that's.
yeah, and if you can go for her, and then Jenna will get to us a certain thing that she wants to display or something, by all means, you know. That's
Okay.
part of the history of the school and things like that, yeah. But we're very cautious about, because we try to be very specific and straight about, you know, teachers and police department, fire department, don't bring stuff when you go through the expense of buying new furniture. We want everything to be consistent and no sense of bringing old stuff, you know, with duct tape. It's not exaggerating, it happened. The old chair with duct tape, they still want to bring it over, because for the years they've been, like, a police department, for years they've been in those buildings, they've been collecting stuff all along, and that's, to them, that's valuable stuff, you know. So anyway.
Okay. Brian?
Yeah, since it was brought up after I spoke, I just did want to attest that there is almost nothing in that building worth salvaging. Maybe except for the boiler, but that's a much bigger thing. But in terms of FF&E, I think maybe just the like, we have the portable cafeteria tables might be used somewhere else, or those were pretty new. And then I think we bought a couple new chairs and desks for the library, but that's just small. And then just anecdotally, I've had kids in their last 12 years, and every year they ask us to bring in tennis balls for the old crappy chairs and desks, so they don't dig holes into the floors. I mean, that stuff is all spent. That's trash. It's not even salvageable or donatable, in my opinion. Anyway, just my 2 cents on that.
Yeah, when you mentioned the boiler, there's a conversation between Bill's office, George. We are salvaging the burners. The boiler, we won't be dismantling it because for reuse. The burner we can simply remove and potentially use for other places. Yeah.
Yeah, it was like $1 million we spent on that, I remember.
I don't remember how much it was. I don't think it's $1 million, but it was a lot. Like $400,000 or $500,000, and we actually pay more money because of there were some issues while we were doing installations, scheduling issues and openings, overtime and stuff like that. There was temporary heat we had to provide and stuff like that. But yeah, probably $400,000 or $500,000 we probably spent.
Okay.
Was that state? Doesn't matter whether it's state or city money, but I think it was a state-funded project, wasn't it? No. Okay.
Yes, that was state reimbursable, yes.
No.
Mike's
Okay, well,
Mike's shaking his head, no.
Let's say no, it's okay. Anyway, let's move on.
All right,
We got a
let's
long
keep
meeting.
moving. Let's keep moving. Any further discussion of these items? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor? More, okay, unanimous. Thank you. All right, we're gonna move on to discussion of Norwalk High School Design Development Phase deliverables. It says 15 to 20 minutes. Let's keep it at that, please, if not less.
Not a problem. Good evening. My name is Paul Dominoff with Castle Booth Associates. With me today is Kate Jessup, our architect and educational planner, and by phone, Brennan White. He's our landscape architect. The intent is to give you a quick update of where we are in the process, and we have a slide deck to show you. If you don't mind, I'd like to share my screen.
Sure, go ahead.
Let me know, Tom, when you can see this, please.
We can see it.
Beautiful. Okay. This first slide is just a reminder of who your project team is. Of course, CSG, owner's project manager. We are Castle Booth Architects, and the construction manager is again Gil Bain. This slide quickly gives an overview of where we are with the schedule. Right now, if you can see my cursor, we just completed design development and delivered documents to Gil Bain for pricing purposes. And they should have some preliminary numbers of our design development package in the middle of this month. And we've also set up a meeting with the state of Connecticut towards the end of the month, I believe on the 25th, for our design development review meeting. From there, we will enter directly into construction documents towards end of July. From there, directly into the bidding piece, which will take us to about November, and then construction will start and span, just over 3 years. After the new building is constructed, the existing high school will be demolished, and lastly, there'll be a piece to do some of the site where the existing building currently stands. I know you've all seen this before, but I'm going to give a quick overview. This is where we are with design development, an overview of the site. To orient everybody, here's County Street and the intersection of Strawberry Hill Ave. Currently, the high school is positioned right in the middle of the site. Our design puts the new building, new high school and P-TECH on the existing turf field. And the turf field would be displaced towards the intersection of County and Strawberry. In the middle is the parking. A bus loop would come around the backside, and it is 2 drop-offs, a student drop-off in this little notch right here, and a parent drop-off along the front of the building. And as far as the fields, we have the softball field moved here, a multi-purpose field, track and field, and the tennis courts are moved, all 6 of them. These are tiered because the site drops approximately 30 feet from this point all the way down in the intersection. And lastly, we have a concessions building serving the athletic fields on this side, and a proposed field house on this side, and our grandstand in the middle. So the grandstand actually takes advantage of the slope from this high point down to the low point on the hill. So that's the overview of the site. I'm going to ask Kate Jessup, our educational planner, to talk through the site plans really quick by each level. Overall, there's a 4-story academic wing for the Norwalk High School here, and a 3-story academic wing for P-TECH here. Kate's been working diligently with the leadership and the school staff to figure out this big puzzle and to make sure all the needs are met. So Kate, do you want to walk through the floor plan, please?
Sure. Paul, if you wouldn't mind just using the cursor as I walk through. So the area at the sort of top portion in the dark orange, those are your 2 main offices for both schools. So that's where most of the administration is going to be located. As you move sort of down the page, that sort of light or orange color is the culinary program and the restaurant, which will have a secure area, which will be for the public to come into, but so that they cannot during school hours enter into the rest of the building, which was an important security feature. The larger area in the center is sort of the center part of the Starfish, as we've always described it, is the student common. So that's where activities will occur, as well as the cafeteria where students will be eating. To the right of that, in the dark brown, that's our kitchen, and the gray area is the culinary and custodial areas of the support spaces for the building. As you move further down into the site, the light blue area is all your athletics and PE spaces. Just north of the gym, that's a large open area. That's where the sort of cardio equipment, the weight room will be, which will open out into that, that area on the exterior, which is a nice relationship, especially on summer days. The locker rooms on the left-hand side, as well as a bunch of the offices and support spaces. Just south of that in the dark blue, that's the pool. It has its own separate locker rooms so that after hours or on weekends, the pool actually can be isolated so that folks can use it without having access to the rest of the school, another security feature. To the right of that in the light purple is the music spaces, your large band room for the very successful band program, as well as orchestral and chorus spaces. In the sort of the violet color above that, that is the large auditorium with the balcony on the second level, as well as the support spaces backstage. And the box just south of the main theater, that's sort of a rehearsal area, dance studio. As you move vertically onto the second floor, at the top of this page, directly above the main offices, that's our media center. We sort of the fancy word now for what the library space is. To the left of that on the page is where the DCAM space is. That's part of the digital media program that exists in the school now. As Paul indicated on the left-hand side, that is the P-TECH wing of the building. So those are all the academic and teacher planning areas, the support spaces for the P-TECH program. On the right-hand side, the same is true of the Norwalk High program. You can see that the open area in the middle is actually looking down to the cafeteria below. So it's a nice large volume space, which is really exciting. As you move sort of through the building further, you have the second level of the gym you're looking down onto. That's to the right of that is the balcony level of the theater. And then the others are larger volume spaces, which are all 2 stories. On the second level, you do have an auxiliary gym, which will serve to support the other programs. And just north of that is your JROTC program, which is also going to have access into that auxiliary gym for their marching program. We jump up to the third level. Again, the P-TECH on the left, Norwalk High on the right. They come together in the violet colors are all of the visual arts. So your painting, your sculpture areas, your ceramics, etc. That's sort of the main area connected. The other spaces that you see south of that are actually the volumes coming up from the level below. And on the 4th floor, as Paul had mentioned, the Norwalk High wing, is actually 4 stories. One of the things that I think is important that you'll see in this image right here is these 2-story volumes of the project rooms on the end are meant to facilitate interdisciplinary and project-based learning, something that we talked to with the leadership of the school, which is a sort of a newer space that will allow different types of engineering and STEM activities to occur within the school. So with that, I'll toss it back to Paul to talk a little bit about the materials on the exterior of the building.
Sure, thank you, Kate. So quickly, we have a few slides of images. This represents the approach that you'd see with 4-story Norwalk High School over here, 3-story P-TECH wing in the entry in the middle with the media center above. The materials that we're proposing are a pretty simple palette of brick masonry at the base, some metal panel above, and then some curtain wall glazing, and a combination of that all the way out throughout the whole building. Here's another wider view looking as if you're coming up from the field, which would be behind you, from the bleachers, walking towards the main entrance, and you can see the parking lot is bisected by this kind of pedestrian walk. But you can see the volume on the left, 4 stories, Norwalk High, 3 stories, P-TECH on the right. This is the student drop-off I mentioned, where the buses would circulate around the rear of the building, and then the students be safely dropped off into this notch that we created, funneling them directly into that common space in the middle of that starfish diagram that Kate described earlier. And lastly, this is the back of the building, and you can see the pool area on the left and some of the performance spaces on the right. So this is King Street would be behind you, and we plan to buffer between King Street and this elevation. So Dan, if you're on, Dan may touch on this slide a little bit about some of the outreach we've done with the community and stakeholders for the building. Dan?
Okay. Yep. Thank you, Paul. I'll jump in here. So as we met and continue to coordinate with the staff and administration, we saw a trend with common questions coming up over and over again. So trying to provide that information and make it available to everyone, we went through, took the common topics and provided responses to those items. And I won't go into deep detail on any of these this evening, but I'll just run through the different areas and what we've provided in this document. So the first is building energy code, CT high performance building and green building. So everyone asked what we're doing to provide a green building. The building will be built to the CT High Performance Building Standards, which is commonly known as a LEED Silver equivalent. And also we have our ongoing conversations with solar power generation on the roof. General classrooms, there's the question that has come up over and over again about the number of classrooms and between general classrooms, science classrooms, and other spaces within the school. So here we outline the number of classrooms in the school, as well as the utilization factor that the project is being designed to. Science classroom labs, there's been more interest in what's going into them, the size and quantity, and how that compares to the existing building. So we have provided a response specific to the science classroom labs. Media center, an explanation of what's in that media center, what can be expected, as well as the Digital Media Communication Academy, which originally was not intended to be part of this project, but through that coordination effort, we were able to carve out space and incorporate that in the job. Athletics and marching band. As you know, the new building will be located on the Testa Field complex. So in doing so, we need to provide alternate locations for athletics. And in this response, we've, as we've explained in previous meetings, to approve that option B, how we will shuffle the sports, maintain those different athletics throughout the duration of construction, and provide as little disruption as possible. And in here, we confirm that the marching bands program is not affected. Safety and security. We talk about the standards that the school is being designed to, as well as our coordination with the Norwalk Fire and Police Departments, school security, and the feedback we've received from them throughout the process. Technology, an explanation of what we're going to include in the school and how our future-ready programming will provide maximum flexibility for future options. Community providers, something that's important to the Norwalk High School, is providing space for outside providers to come in and support the community. So that's our kind of snapshot of the commonly asked questions and our responses that have been provided to the staff and administration.
Thank you, Dan. Just a few more slides. We looked at solar opportunities as part of the green and building that Dan talked about earlier. And we did some diagrams and analysis of what it would look like if we put solar on the roof. And this piece at the very bottom kind of sums it up nicely. There's the energy usage of the building. This photovoltaic output would handle this and would represent about 33% of the usage of the building if we put panels in this configuration on the roof. Let me go through a couple more scenarios. Then we looked at carport panels as well, 2 versions. This is the first version where we could put as many as we could into the solar canopies in the parking area. So again, the building usage, the roof would account for this much. Adding the carport system would add another 31%. So if we did a roof and this configuration of the solar carport, it's about 64, which is pretty high, 64% of the total usage of the building. Lastly, we did one more scenario with less panels, and the logic behind that is, there's got to be, in our opinion, a balance of what it looks like versus how much energy saving. So this was a study on what it would be if we didn't do all the panels right up to the face of the building, because there's a visual impact with these, no doubt. And again, this analysis says, what if we take the building, the roof, and a smaller carport arrangement, and it's just over half of the building. So those are a couple different scenarios we've studied. And I'm not sure if the next slide shows just some examples of the types of carports that we would look at. It's a bit utilitarian from the underside, so we are as architects, cautious and, we want to study what that impact would be visually, not block the building. And so here are just some examples of what they might look like. And I know Alan has some thoughts on this, if you want to jump in.
Alan, before Alan goes, because I've been kind of a broken record on this, I really do think we need to maximize the solar panels. I think I respect and appreciate your comments about the visuals, but I think the visuals don't pay the electric bills.
Understood.
And I think we do have to be cognizant of that.
Noted. So with that,
Barbara, go ahead.
Yeah, just to add to that, I have seen some carport solar panels that are really quite attractive, kind of groovy looking. So, and I don't know that they would be more expensive, but they're not all unattractive.
Yeah, David? Unless you, something else, Barbara.
Thanks, Chair. No, just the question I had was, what is the impact budgetarily on the project if you do the carports?
Am I on? Yeah. We are not using capital funds to do this. We're doing that power purchase agreement. So basically we are leasing it. So the payment for the putting in the system, we need to get a financial performer from Vergy, who is our preferred solar vendor that we designate recently. They have to look at the first thing, two things that they look at. The first thing they look at is that as you can see, some of the very standard kind of solar carport system, they are generally speaking not very attractive. It looks like underside of a parking deck, in the middle of a parking deck. So like Barbara says, they are structured out there. They're very uniquely different kind of thing. There are not that many of them out there that can fit this span. And also the orientation is kind of interesting. So anyway, we are looking at those, and especially those specialty ones are probably more expensive. And you can see these canopies go both to double over the parking spaces. So they span much wider than some of these other ones. So if any of you seen some systems out there that look great, forward those links to us, and we'll research it further. But typically when people do such a large system, those specialty ones are not fitted for those. Again, but I think in long, by the time we install this, it's probably 5-6 years from now. So things will continue to change. So there's something that we need to continue to look at. But it is complicated in the sense
Alan, for the power purchase, Alan, on the power purchase agreement, do they do the carport, all the other construction as well? I know that they do on a rooftop. They do the stands and the construction of putting the panels on the rooftop. But in a carport situation, do they build all of that substructure that's there as well?
Yeah, it's something that we need to coordinate. The reason being is that we will put the cost, all the foundation and conduit and all of that cost as part of the depreciation or performer for the carport system. However, installation of footings and conduit underground will be done by our contractor, because we can't wait for one or the other, right? So we have to put these in ahead of the solar guy to come in to do this. So there's a construction phasing relationship that we have to work out, scheduling that we have to work out. So we have to pre-purchase it under the site contract to buy all the footings and stuff like that, and then installed by our contractor. But the cost of it had to assign to the solar guy. So okay, so it's not simple. It needs a lot of coordination, and we even start talking about temporary lighting, because the parking lot, it comes when we build a new building. We still got to demolish the old building. After the new building is built, we got to demolish the old building. At the same time, when you do this, when we're building the parking lot, the solar guy needs to be there. But then you got to talk about site lighting, and also we have to put under lighting beneath these things to provide lighting for the park. Again, there's a lot more complex conversation need to have in terms of coordination and construction. But ultimately, we're not paying capital costs for it. We pay for it based on the electricity generated by these panels. And I think it's like, generally speaking, about 5 cents a kilowatt, but for a carport system, maybe more. So at some point in the future, once we determine what's a reasonable looking structural system, then we got assign cost to it, and then Vergy will start developing a financial performer to see how it costs, what the payback period is going to be.
Okay. Greg?
Yes, thank you. One of the slides showed where the bus drop-off area would be. I'm curious as to where would the car drop-off point be? Would that be the front of the building?
Yes, yes. Let me reshare my screen.
Right now, it's just the way the school is set up is only one entrance on County Street. The proposed plan has 2 entrances, one on Strawberry Hill and one on County Street. So, Paul, you can take it from here.
Yep. So the buses would come around the backside and drop off students here. Parents would come in off of either County or Strawberry and drop at the front of the building. So that we'd have 2 entrances. Student drop off here. Oh, sorry, parent drop off here and student here by bus, and they all converge kind of in the middle at the heart of the building, which works out nicely on this site.
Got it. Thank you. My follow-up question is, I see 6 tennis courts, but I don't see any pickleball courts. Is that not on the table?
At this point, we don't have any for this project. I'm not sure this is true. I'm purely speculating. When a competitive tennis may not want to see the pickleball court lines. So I need to verify. Otherwise, we will put it in. It's not a big deal. But it's I think for high school competitive sports, I'm not sure they want to see multiple lines. So we'll see.
It is popular though these days.
It is growing, and by the time this project is done, it might overtake tennis in popularity. So
Yeah, but
just food for thought. Maybe one of these tennis courts should be striped as a pickleball court.
Yeah, it's the fastest
Yeah,
growing
so-
sport in America.
It is. It's crazy.
Okay.
and as you can see, the site, all the site pretty much taken up. I mean, there's really not too much ground left. But one thing we want to note is that we also going to build the existing field between North High School and Natick School. Right now, it's a configuration is really awkward. It's kind of a softball. The North High School JV girls softball team plays practice there, but at the same time, is the right field is only like 640 feet or something like that kind of thing. So by reorientating it, we can put like 180, 190 feet outfield. So that's one thing we're doing. Other than that, we're really not encroaching onto Natick School at all.
Okay, thank you. Brian?
You're muted, Brian.
You keep that slide there. It's just my eyesight. From the King Street center line, what is that measurement to the building?
So, King Street here. King Street.
Yeah, I see some like dimensions. I just can't
Oh,
read them.
geez. Yeah. I'm not sure if I can get that. Let me zoom in.
And then how tall is the pool building?
So this,
It's roughly around two story to 2.5 story high. We kept the 4-story building inside the property. The 3 and 4 stories, the classroom wings, which is in the middle of the property. We purposely keep the pool wings only it's 1 story, but it's 1 high story for the pool, right? I mean, the pool is probably like 20 feet high. So
Yeah.
we try to keep that on that King Street so that minimize the impact on the neighborhood. So we put it back. I think that's about 80 feet, if I'm not mistaken. Don't quote me on that.
yeah.
80 feet, but that looks like to the
Edge of the
bus
property.
line.
Yeah, so what I think,
The dashed yellow line is the 80-foot front yard setback line,
here,
which is the
Oh.
requirement there. So you can see
Okay.
that dashed yellow line, and the building is about 12 to 20 feet beyond that line.
Well, actually,
Okay.
parking space 19 feet. So that's at least 20 feet more beyond that. Well,
Yeah,
over
This
there,
is
yeah.
very helpful. I think what might be more helpful if you had a southern profile of this. I think you showed us.
Yep.
The northern
No, we did.
We
show
did
it
show
King
it.
before.
Street profile.
I'll show you, yep.
Profile that's in front, like looking from the softball field. That should show you the change in height, right? From the front to the back of the building.
I'm saying, the softball field side, Brian?
If you're standing on that old sand lot that's at Merrimack right now, like the grayed out one Alan was talking about.
Here, somewhere on
Yeah,
this side?
looking straight at it from there.
Yeah.
That would
We don't
show you
have-
4
we don't
stories
have
on the
it-
left, gradually lowering to the pool, right?
So this is the only image we have tonight to show you, but you can see there's the drive lane, there's a retaining wall here. So that field that Alan was referencing is elevated higher.
Yeah, it's about 10 feet higher.
Yep.
At
Thank you,
that-
Brennan.
So the very end of that, that's where the pool is.
If you go to the next image, it might be easier to sort of see the,
Yeah, the next image. That's what
This
we're
is-
looking at.
King Street side.
so you can see the pool area is, the requirements for pools is about 20 feet to the underside of the structure. So it's a little bit taller than 20 feet at that edge. That's the gray box. So you can see also the band area has some minimum requirements for the height of that space. So that area is a little bit taller, but you can see that, the chorus room in the middle there in the brick is just a traditional 2-story height. You can see that from this view from King Street, you can't even get the perception of the 4-story at all. You can't see what's that 3 or 4 stories. So your perception as a pedestrian walking on King Street will really just be that 2-story volume about 100 feet back.
You muted.
Yeah, thank you very much. Then I guess my last question is just for Alan, because this slide deck was not part of the packet. Is this going to be made available publicly?
Yes, all this, as soon as we show this publicly, it becomes available to the public. We are
Okay,
going for a
thanks.
special appropriation. No, I'm sorry, not special. We're going to special permit of planning zoning, middle of this, in about 2 weeks or so, to request a special permit for this project. So all this information is available. It's been available in a different format. So again, as you show these drawings at tonight's meeting, it is a public information, so people can access it. And Paul, I don't want to go on that much longer for North High School. We still have to go for South North School, but at the same time, could you just show the site plan a little bit?
Yes.
One more time for me, please.
You bet.
Since you brought Brian, since you brought up King Street, there'd been a long conversation some time ago with King Street neighbors about their concern from King Street in terms of elevation. They did not want a entrance or exit on King Street, which we would prefer all along, but we respect their requests, and there's no entrance or exit, not even emergency. I always thought that emergency egress was a good thing for the property, but they didn't want to see that either. So there's nothing coming out from King Street. So we are holding true to what they asked for, and we are committed to do so. Again, there's no, and then we added more landscaping along the street side, right along so to screen it even further.
Okay, well, this is all very important, and I don't mean to suck up all the air in the room, but I'm going to tell you, 7 years ago, when the PTO put that stupid electronic billboard out on the corner of Strawberry Hill and County, there were at least 100 people showed up to the Board of Education meeting complaining about how that was going to destroy the entire neighborhood. So we're getting a little bigger here. So thanks for covering your bases.
All right, let's keep moving. Heidi?
Thank you. I just had a quick question. Previously, they were talking about an outdoor classroom, and I'm sorry, my voice is just going. I just was wondering if that was still part of the design or not at all.
Kate? Oh, you're muted, Kate.
Yeah, sorry about that. I too am having some sneezing issues, just getting over a cold, so I put my camera off so you didn't watch that. We have talked about and located some areas for outdoor educational reasons. We haven't gone into the full design of them. There's sort of two streams of thought of like a true formal outdoor classroom and then outdoor educational space being two different things. One being a little more natural and flexible, one being a place with essentially outside desks. We do not have that sort of true outdoor classroom space. We have and typically design these spaces to have full Wi-Fi in these sort of outdoor court areas. We've even talked about that, the bus drop area of having potential to have some fencing and have some outdoor tables for, which could be used for classes, but also for cafeteria space on the outdoors. So although we haven't fully designed that component in, we have had discussions with the school. I think given what was learned during COVID about people enjoying being outside, having that flexibility of being outside, there was some desire by a lot of the teachers to have that focus. So if not formal educational space, there will be informal areas that I think we will work into the project. As Paul mentioned, we have sort of the next round of budgeting coming back next month. And I think there'll be a little bit of adjustment, obviously, in every project where we sort of make sure we're on the right track from a fiscally responsible standpoint. But this is one of those things that I think are important. As an educational planner, for me, I think utilizing as much of this space of the field as possible. You can also see between the restaurant area and the Norwalk High, there is sort of an outdoor space capture that's really intended to be area for the culinary restaurant to spill out. But there's other opportunities, I think, of utilizing some of that type of space as well. So I think some of that is contingent on the budget, and it's a sad thing, but we do have to sort of, make sure we're being responsible there. But we have identified sort of areas at the end of the P-TECH wing is another example. There is some area which could be utilized outside. If Paul, you can just flash the plans, and we're sort of still working with the science teachers to have the appropriate designation, but basically you can see those two science rooms on the end. They're actually all three going to be at the end now. So it would be a great opportunity on the first level to have an outdoor classroom outside that science area. So I think we just have to, once we go through this pricing exercise, understand what those are going to be or how much a capital budget goes into those, because it's also something that is very easily achieved through grants and other financial means. So I'm personally very much in favor of having outdoor space utilized as sort of student space. It's just a question of how it fits in. And I'm hoping once you see us again in a couple of months, we'll have something more to show you on that front.
No, that was great. Thank you.
Okay, if there's nothing else, let's move on to South Norwalk.
Thank you. Thank you for the high school
Thank you,
team.
guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you for the time. Take care.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Okay, Alan.
All right, it's the now it's the Eddie and Paul show. I think Paul, right?
Very
Jeffrey, I'm
good.
sorry, Jeff show.
Okay.
Go ahead, guys.
All right. Good evening. Eddie Wadowski, Associate and Senior Project Manager with Tecton Architects. With me tonight is Jeff Wazinski, Principal in Charge. I believe masquerading as my alter alias is Antonia Ciavarella.
She signed in. Yep, she's here.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm on here twice, not sure exactly why. But... All right, I'm going to share my screen. Okay. So we are a little bit earlier in the process than the project you just saw. We're getting towards the latter part of schematic design.
Eddie, we see your Outlook screen.
Oh, geez, really? Try it again. How's that?
No, not yet. There we go.
There we go. All right. So maybe a little bit behind. Can you see my cursor okay? Is that moving?
Yep.
Okay, great. Thank you. So as I said, getting towards the latter part of schematic design, we've had weekly meetings, detailed programming meetings with basically administrative staff and then school staff from the district, from both district and school. And we are working towards getting a pricing package out to Newfield Construction, who is our CM, for the end of this week. So Going to take you through kind of where we are right now. We've had one meeting also with the community at large, where they had an opportunity to come and see what we are proposing. Really, the major driver for this project in terms of where we're locating the building is the topography. So to orient everyone, we've got Main Street on the east side of the site. North is up here in this image and in all the images you'll see tonight. And then we have Meadow Street extension on the south end of the site. And as you can see from south to north is a change in grade of about 70 feet. And as you can see, it really gets aggressive on the north after the site. So that's really, as I'll show you on the next slide, has been kind of what's driven where we've placed the building. We've really not studied as many different options for the building siding as we might normally do just because of this. As you can see, you know, that we really, there's a low point here. We know that there's a very busy intersection at South Main Street and Meadow Street here. There is a little bit of a floodplain that comes over the very southeast corner of the site. So we wanted to stay away from that. Again, with the aggressive topography at the north, we wanted to stay away from that as well. So really, we thought that kind of staying in the center of the site really gave us the most advantageous locations to be able to connect potentially to Knapp Street in the middle of the site on the west, and with the possibility, and we'll talk about this probably a little bit later, but you know, perhaps an easement to get across the adjacent rail spur property to make a pedestrian connection out Main Street. So what we're looking at doing is essentially, you know, as you can see, kind of we're looking at trying to take down this portion of the knoll that's in the center of the site and create kind of a flatter area that we can really use for building and all of the adjacent site areas, and explore the possibilities of, you know, creating some field areas up on the upper level that we can use the building for providing the vertical circulation required to get up to those higher elevations. We have an entrance at the south part of the site. The good part is that this driveway is not in the floodplain, so we don't have to worry about that being blocked off if there ever was an emergency condition. But the major drop off for parents to come around in a great big loop here, a large parking area, and then have a secondary loop that would come from Oxford Street and then back out to Knapp that would be used for buses, as well as, and I'll show you a little bit more on future slides about a separate drop off for the younger students. So you can, you know, the idea of having these two separate loops. We've got the possibility of having a mountable curb here to be able to bring traffic from one to the other if ever needed for emergency purposes. And then providing, as I'll explain to you as I show you on the plans, some really great community space that's immediately adjacent to this lower area. We've also been meeting with traffic mobilization and parking and some of the pieces that have come out with them. This one, first of all, came from the Board of Ed. Essentially, this really is truly a neighborhood school. The population coming to this is all within the radius where they're not eligible for busing. So everyone really, if with the exception of anyone who needs it for special needs, most people will not be coming by bus. We're estimating that the Board of Ed is estimating that more than 50% of the students will be walkers, and then the rest will be family. There is a large population that uses both before school and after school care that are going to reduce the number of volumes that will happen at peak times. We talked with them again about the potential access from South Main Street. There are currently buses that traverse Oxford and Knapp, so there's no issues there with turning radiuses or busyness of those streets. TMP is looking at kind of an overall cohesive plan to help provide better sidewalk access throughout the city. You know, we talked about, you know, the potential of, you know, if it's possible to get, you know, that rail spur property, and if there's the possibility of, you know, potentially acquiring some of these other properties along Oxford in particular this one might be really advantageous to help, kind of softening up the route, the vehicular route, and the turning radiuses there. They've also talked about the need to potentially realign Meadow Street and South Main and Meadow Street Extension, but that's kind of past our purview. We do have a traffic study that's commencing, and that's going to be going on throughout the month of January. So we'll be able to evaluate some of these strategies a little further. So as I mentioned, what we're trying to do is essentially create an entrance here at the lowest level. It's a 3-story building. Having students being dropped off here, and as you'll see on the plans, basically being able to really get right into the cafeteria and the gymnasium. We think it's going to be a really great way, again, with the before care and the after care. Being in those assembly areas is really going to make for a good staging of things. Students coming in, being able to get to breakfast right away. But I'll explain that as we get a little further into things. But essentially, the site would kind of start to slope up this way, so where there would be entrance here and here on the main level, as opposed to the lower level. And what we're looking at here is, since there's really not going to be very much traffic coming from buses, we'd like to have this as a secondary drop-off for the younger students. We've got our pre-K and K classrooms oriented here, so to have a dedicated entrance where there's younger students who need a little more time to get in and out of cars, their parents can take that extra time and they can walk directly to their classrooms, and then outdoor play areas that you see, all the way around the building, easy access for times of recess close to entrances. And then when the building is not being used for drop off and dismissal, this makes a really nice visitor lot that can be used, that would bring you instead to this entrance. And you'll see that a little more clearly on the plans as we zoom in. So this is the lowest level, as I mentioned. So the idea would be students would come in and out through here. Cafeteria and the gym could be used as really great staging areas to be able to, have the kids and, with the walkie-talkies, be able to say, hey, Johnny, mom is here, to send Johnny out. But really to get this southern exposure, get some great natural light coming into the cafeteria. And as you can see, we're showing an operable partition between the cafeteria and the gym. The idea being so that if you have, the stage is placed at this side of the gymnasium, but if you have a larger event, you've got the ability to open it up and really take advantage of a great space that provides a lot of flexibility for a lot of different events. We have band and music here. As I mentioned, the grade will kind of start to slope up, but we'll still be able to get high windows to bring natural light into those classrooms. We have the loading dock comes off this way, so nice access to the kitchen servery to serve the cafeteria as well as receiving for the rest of the building. And then you can see kind of utility rooms sprinkled throughout. There's a monumental stair that brings you up to the main level, and I'll show you some images of what that might look like in some future slides. Here we are up at the main level. So this would be the entrance for the younger students, again, to bring you to the pre-K and kindergarten, and then nice visitor entrance here. Having good visual administration of both parking lots, both drop-offs. And so, being able to come, great ability to make sure that visitors are being admitted to the building in a safe fashion. And then we have the nurse up here so that if they are coming to pick up a sick student, you can come right in and out real easily. But having this whole admin bar here really, we think, works very nicely. A 2-story media center immediately off of the gym, and a secondary, a multi-purpose space that's really intended to be kind of gross motor, another sort of auxiliary gym for the younger students, but can function in a number of different fashions. We have a multi-function lab maker space off of the media center. And then, we think some really exciting possibilities for design. Corridor here that goes across the upper portion of the gym and the cafeteria, and being able to look down into the space below. You also see the first grade classrooms here on the right side of the plan. As we move upstairs, you can see the majority of the program here is classrooms. It's second, third, fourth, and fifth. We have essentially 4 classrooms per grade, but we have a couple of extra ones to be able to take care of potential bubble years. You see special education, restrooms, teacher support really kind of sprinkled throughout. We hear it all the time about the gift of time, not making students have to travel all the way, or faculty travel all the way from one end of the building to the other, to be able to use these spaces, to have them really, scattered throughout and close to the classrooms. Again, this the idea of a corridor and being able to look down into the 2-story multi-purpose space and being able to look down here into the media center. And what we think is a really nice piece here is the creation of an outdoor learning space. Essentially, for all intents and purposes, this area, but to be able to have some enclosed area open to the sky, but safe and enclosed, protected, and to be able to bring students immediately outside and get some fresh air and be able to take advantage of the balance between natural world and the classroom environment. So with that, I want to show you, this is a section kind of through the building. This is taken through, you see the 2-story cafeteria space and the gym here with that pedestrian bridge going across. Again, really great natural light that should filter all the way through into the gym. You see the stage here. This is the outdoor learning space up at the quote unquote roof level. You see it flanked by classrooms on either side. And as the topography kind of raises up, from this is south on this side and north on the right. So you see the 2-story classrooms over here. And then just to kind of give you some visuals, we showed a monumental stair in the corridor, bringing you up from the lower level to the main level, and another inside the media center. And we think these are really fantastic spaces. So they're not just vertical circulation, but also the ability for, seating area to be used as another teaching environment, classroom area, breakout space for students to sit and work on a project together, or teachers to teach in a non-traditional way. And then last, this roof area we think would be a really elegant way to be able to introduce, again, a classroom space, planting areas, natural discovery. Really, we think could be a very elegant design element to include in the project. So that is the presentation. I am happy to take any questions you might have.
Questions?
As we move forward, there's 2 more meetings that we intend to set up as we move forward to with the Sub-North community groups to get their input on the project. We are moving along. We are looking to, in terms of schedule wise, we're looking to go through all of the various design phases with the anticipation that we'll go out to bid in the winter time and get soon the bids coming right. We'll start construction. Part was like March of next year, I think it is.
Yes.
Somewhere around there, as soon as the winter breaks. But we also potentially looking at early packages to start some site work earlier if that's feasible. But anyway, generally speaking, we are on schedule, and it's going to be, this is going to be one of the biggest elementary schools in the system. I mean, typical elementary school is probably around 350 to 450. This school is going to be 680 students. So that's one of the reasons why we have a multi-purpose room in there to support. The gym may not be sufficient. So that's why we added the multi-purpose room for the gross motor skill for the younger kids. So again, there's no specific approval required as part of our process, but I want to bring this to the committee so that everybody can see what we're doing. And there's a building advisory committees that set up for this, and we met, I think, twice now. So, and we'll continue to work together.
All right, David?
Thanks, Tom. Alan, March 24 start construction. What's our anticipated building open?
24, 20.
September 25, right?
Right, September 25.
September 25? Okay, thanks.
Barbara?
Yeah, thanks. I'm curious about the outdoor learning space. which is terrific. It looks amazing, and I'm sure this is well thought out, but help me out here because I don't understand how it would work. Is the snow removal and drainage for rain, if it's in the middle of the building like that?
Yeah, one of the systems that we've used before very successfully is, and the nice part about it is this is right above the gymnasium. So it's its own structural base. So we can treat that a little bit differently. What we would do is actually drop the roof structure a little bit, a foot or two. And so the roof itself would be at a lower elevation. And then essentially there are pedestals that sit on top of it. And there are, the pedestal system is great because there's a number of different components that can be swapped out. You can have pavers, you can have benches, you can have planting beds, but essentially it's for all intents and purposes, it looks like a deck when you walk out. So you walk directly out at the same floor level as the rest of the adjacent floor, but the roof itself is below it. So rain and snow comes down to that lower level and the drainage is down at that point.
Well, let me.
It's a nice system because it kind of protects the roof a little bit.
Let me interrupt you. Barbara, you're right. I think that's a concern I have too. Snow and rain, it's a problem. I think we have to balance that between the benefit of we always talk about, outdoor education learning space, right? The need for it. But at the same time, this is an opportunity to provide a secure area for that purpose. So I think we have to balance that between potential maintenance concerns about, snow buildup against the walls and stuff like that versus, and also, drainage we can manage. Snow, it's a little bit of a problem because we want to make sure that it doesn't build up and leaks into the building and stuff like that. So we probably end up with higher flashing around the perimeter of the wall, so to prevent that from happening. But I think that the balance really is a secure open space for outdoor learning space. It's very interesting. We don't. We kind of don't have it, but I think it's I'm not pushing it for one way or the other. It's a space available, but having it secureable, it's a very, very good idea. So.
Yeah, it's terrific. It looks beautiful. I think it would be terrific for the kids. I'm imagining like literally, shoveling snow over the side. Because that's the bigger. I think drainage, like you said, Alan, is that's one thing, but the snow seems like it could really be.
Yeah. So I think what we have probably end up was probably like, we put pavement. I'm just thinking out loud since you brought it up because you can ask Eddie. This is one of the concerns I have actually. But we can put more the paved areas so that you could go out to, if you have to, you can go and shovel that snow away from the building a little bit, let it melt in the middle of the place kind of thing. But if so I think there need to be some conscious designed to be able to for better operating management of the facility.
Thank you, Alan.
Of course, the reality is we're getting less and less snow these days, but.
This is true. We are.
Yeah, you got to think
It's
about
not
it.
like we're in the Midwest.
Yeah. Hey, Brian.
Thanks. Yeah, I was kind of surprised looking at this. What was the decision for not having any entrance from South Main? I just would have guessed we would have accessed that property from South Main and not having to navigate through the scrapyard.
Fundamentally, there's two reasons. One is that the grade changes. When South Main is lower than on the upper portion of the site, the South Main is a lot lower than the upper portion. So we can't really drive across there. It's really the middle portion to the lower portion we're gonna cut across. But we don't own that property. It used to be a railroad spur line. So ideally we want to bring an access through, but at the same time, I'm not sure vehicle access. The other thing too, coming in from Meadow Street Extension provides the opportunity to provide stacking waiting area for drop off and pickup. But if you come in from South Main Street, you don't have the available space for stacking, for waiting, right? So, but I think the pedestrian access is important because kids coming from South Main Street and coming down for the northern part of South Norwalk, walking down, we really don't want them to walk all the way down to the intersection and go back up again. So that's why I think having a pedestrian access the middle of the site from South Main Street is very desirable.
Okay, what's with it was mentioned, but it's out of scope. Like reconfiguring that whole South Main, Meadow, Wilson interchange there. Cause I mean, like, right, you go down there every morning, there's garbage trucks packed up till noon all day long down there. Like, how what's changing about that, if anything?
I think there's a lot of conversation need to have to how whether what needs how and what needs to be improved in terms of traffic circulation at that whole intersection. I think as part of this project, I'm preparing that we can potentially put a traffic light there if that helps, right? But there's a lot of, I mean, we start looking at it, and I think there are many different opinions how and possibly. And then one of the conversations that came up was potentially the changing the configuration of that intersection. I'm not sure that's a solution, but at the same time, I think that's why it came up as a conversation piece. But I think there's a lot more conversation to have, an evaluation need to be had, because when you're looking at there's not that many cars that go onto Meadow Street Extension. So basically, it's coming from South Main and Meadow Street and straight to Wilson Avenue, right? So, and also, you know what? I think this long conversation, so I don't want to take too much time tonight, but I think we are looking at it with traffic.
It's on the table. That's enough.
Yeah, it's definitely on the
very much on the
table.
table. And also changing the alignment of the intersection. We don't own those property. We own the corner property because it's part of the railroad track. There's a retaining wall right there now. So it's get complicated, but we're changing it. Does it help any? Because the flow is really from north and south. So having South Main Street come out earlier and then you stop and because people coming at South Main Street, coming down onto South Main Street does not make a left turn because they go and continue to go south, right? So you don't have any really left turn movement. So we are looking
Right,
at
you're gonna go down
traffic
Wood. If you're going to Meadow Street, you're going down Woodward.
Right.
Yeah.
So again, I think there's a lot more evaluation and understanding of how the really works at the intersection. So I can't answer all those questions. And I think first thing we do is traffic counts to see how many people make left turns or right turns and what's the peak hours and stuff. And then now we got to overlay the student the parent drop off period. Is how it impacts the intersection and what we can and cannot do. So there's many conversations to have.
Thanks.
Okay, anything else on this? Okay, thank you guys very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Okay, so the next item is going to be going into executive session to assess the potential of property acquisition and real estate negotiations related to the South Norwalk School. So if I can have an emotion to do that, Mr. Burnett, all in favor? On executive session?
All right, hey, Mike, we're gonna be able to get into that, right? I know we're having a little bit of a problem with
We're okay. I think we worked it out. There's a separate, everybody have the separate email with the new
yeah,
link?
but this meeting, something happened with the feed or whatever. I'm not sure. Mike, can you explain?
The Zoom app crashed on my second laptop, so I'm on a phone right now, and the third device is hosting the executive session. So if everyone moves over there, I'll promote someone to the host and then restart this meeting.
Okay.
All right, everybody sign off of this. Well, not everybody, but all of us.
Well, that was quick. Yeah. So who are we missing? We're missing
Tom Livingston.
Tom and Ivy.
I think we're losing Heidi. She texted me that she's she's got laryngitis. She's not feeling well, so we're losing
Okay.
her.
So I think we anticipate that Jim would be joining up as executive session, and Jim's there, and then Dan and Mike, you can get off, you don't mind?
Yeah, I just need to promote Tom to the host and then I'll be off in a second.
Okay. And then after that, we go back onto the original Zoom meeting.
Okay, Tom, you're the host now. I am going to leave the meeting.
Great, thank you.
Recording in progress.
Alan, you're muted. If you're talking.
Since you're back, could we just note that Councilwoman Heidi Altman has left the meeting?
Yeah, I'll do, okay, we can do that in a sec. She left before executive session, so.
Right.
One, two, three, we just need Brian. Here's Brian. Okay, so when we're all back? Yeah, so we are now back from executive session. During executive session, no actions were taken, no votes were taken. I also note that Ms. Alterman left the meeting prior to the executive session. So with that, unless there's anything else, Alan, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn. Anybody? Mr. Hooverman, thank you. All in favor? Okay, the meeting is now adjourned. Thank you all very much. Appreciate the time. Have a good night.
Thank you, Mike.
Good night.
Night, everyone.
Thanks, Guy.